Our next speaker is working on a testing framework for a mobile platform that is so new you can't even buy a device for it yet. Early next year in South America, you'll be able to purchase a phone with Firefox OS. Next speaker will also be doing 2 live demos, and all I can say to that is kudos. Please welcome Malini Das.
So hi, I'm Malini Das. I'm an automation and tools developer at Mozilla. And I'm here to talk to you about this new, the genesis of a new test framework that we're using at Mozilla and why you should care about it. So the name of my talk is Automating Firefox OS, and I'm sure you're all thinking, what the heck is that? So about a year ago, Mozilla started this new project. And the project was to get a phone booting directly into the browser. So now, all of your dialer, your contacts app, everything is driven by JavaScript, including phone calls. So you can control the entire device with just JavaScript. So that's neat and everything, but how do we test such a device? So at Mozilla, we have lots of single applications that run in established environments. So we have Firefox, a single application, and it runs in established environments like OS X or Windows. And we're only testing this one application, like the browser. Does it render web pages? How fast does it render these web pages? But now we have to test a phone and the entire device stack. So we have to make sure, can this phone not only render a web page, but can it make another phone call to another phone? So it's like a completely new set of problems, and we have no existing test frameworks to address this problem. So we needed a new test solution. So what are the requirements for this new test solution? Well, we want to support all the previous test frameworks that we ran on Firefox and our other products, because this phone would be booting directly into a browser, so we would already get all the previous tests that we've written for Firefox to run on this phone. We also have to make sure that whatever test solution we come up with, it will have the necessary piping to support future test frameworks, because once we create a phone, I'm sure people will want to have a new test framework to test performance or whatever else they want. So it has to be easy to develop for. The solution must have full control of the device. So it has to be able to run all privileged commands like accessing the file system and accessing permissions and stuff. And it has to be easy to use. So since I started developing this solution in the beginning, I was thinking about how can this be an easy solution for not only just developers to use, but for testers. You want to be able to just access this test solution and say things like, oh, I want to navigate to this web page. But you also want to have more full control of the device so you can add new frameworks to it. And you get bonus points if it runs in any Gecko environment. So what Gecko is that that's our browser that the phone would be running. And this browser is used in desktop Firefox, mobile Firefox, and this phone. So if it can run in all these 3 environments, then that would be great because we can share all of the test frameworks and we won't have to write specialized solutions for each of these environments. So the first idea was, let's just open up a privileged server socket and just send raw JavaScript to that socket, and the developers can figure out whatever the hell they want to do. That's great, but it's really unwieldy because we have many test frameworks, and they're all going to have to talk to this socket, and they're all going to be doing the same kind of work. They're all going to want to navigate to a page. They're all going to want to do all these things. And not only that, but it's really unwieldy for testers because they have to either write their own test frameworks or send pure JavaScript over the wire and somehow do testing, and it's a very kind of small and effective tool, but it will bring lots of problems in the future. So we had to think of a way to kind of unite all of these commands that we want to do and yet make it easy for everyone to use it. So the idea of version 2 was to have a privileged WebDriver embedded into the Gecko environment. We called this Marionette. So what makes it privileged? Well, it runs in both the content, which is like a regular web application, and the privilege space. So you can write a test that'll run on your web application, or you can write a test that will test things in privilege space. So you can create, add a new Firefox permission and test if that permission actually affects your web page. So you have a whole new set of things that you can tests that you can check, and you have all these new interactions. Now this provides the necessary piping for current and future test frameworks. For those of you who are familiar with the WebDriver protocol, it has this command called execute script. which is pretty much what we wanted in the first solution, which is executing raw JavaScript in either content or Chrome's privileged space. And this allows us to, this allows future frameworks to easily just add what they want using Marionette. And this is something that's familiar to testers. So since we implement the WebDriver protocol natively in Gecko, you can write a Selenium test, pipe it over to Selenium proxy, and point that to Marionette, and it'll just work. And then it works in any Gecko environment. So that means desktop Firefox, mobile Firefox, and the phone. So you're all probably thinking, like, why should I care? But it's true that you actually can have one test, and it will run everywhere. So this new like WebDriver Gecko mix-in gives you one magical test that will run in all these three environments. And you notice I said mobile Firefox, and yeah, we will eventually add this into mobile Firefox for you to use. So you don't have to add like a Selenium extension or use Robotium or whatever it is you're testing with. You can use Marionette. Another thing that we notice is that it's faster than the current Selenium add-on in Firefox, because that add-on, what it does is it injects all these Selenium scripts into the scope of the page each time you go to a new page and all this other stuff. But since it's we have a similar framework embedded into Gecko, you don't have to do all that constant processing. So it's quite fast. And lastly, it gives you a way to test a Firefox OS app or your web app in a Firefox OS. So I'm sure you want to see a demo. So I'm going to give you a very quick demo. This is the debug version of Firefox that has Marionette installed on it. And this is an example of a test. This is using our Marionette client, and these are all like navigate and find element. These are all WebDriver protocol. They're mapped to WebDriver protocol commands. So what I'm going to do is load a page, click on a link, and the link text will change, and add some text to a text box. So let me just run this code. And then open the tab. And see, it changed the text, and some text will be entered. And Marionette did all that for me, which is awesome. And I didn't have to do anything else to Firefox. I just downloaded it from the web page, and it worked. I mean, from Mozilla, and it works. Now, this is another test. It's the same test, but this is written to work with the phone. And I say written to work with the phone because instead of navigating to a web page like this one does, see, it's HTTP, blah, blah, blah. This one is a file system one because I can't get this phone to go on the network. So I pushed my web page to this phone. Aside from that, there's virtually no difference in this test. This is the exact same test. It's the same, it's word for word the same thing. See, like that's line 12 is the only one that's changing. Huh? Can I make it bigger? Oh yeah, sorry. Let's see. Is that better? Okay. My bad, I can't see. That's perfect? All right, so line 12 is the only thing I'm changing, which is which page I'm navigating to, because this doesn't have network access. Okay. Yeah, can you come over here? I need a little help with showing what the phone can do. All right.
Hi. Check this out.
All right. All right, so we can have this going.
Full screen that thing.
Yeah. All right, if you could hold that there, that'd be awesome. All right, so running the same test. Oh.
Did it freeze?
Yeah, no, it's actually running, but
It's going so fast.
it just went too fast. Oh no, it didn't actually go too fast. It broke, which is awesome.
Nice.
Surprise! Yeah, I know. Hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reboot the phone.
It's not a geeky enough conference unless the demos break. So.
All right, you can hold on to that, and
Sure.
I'll wait.
You want to try one more time?
Yeah, I'll try as soon as it wakes up. I think I left it on hold for
wow,
too long.
You're booting it. All right.
Yeah, I'm booting it.
Nice.
Trust me, it'll totally work.
Should I come back to it? Like a minute?
Yeah,
All right,
it'll boot pretty quickly. So, in the meantime, I can show you this helpful slide, which is how you can get it, so you can start testing with it. The debug version of Firefox is available at the website there. So you can just download it now and enable a certain pref to turn it on, and then you can write all your tests and test them against Marionette. There's a desktop version of Firefox OS. What that means is that you can play around with Firefox OS like front end, but you won't have things like calling because you're running on on a computer and not a phone. Another thing is you can build Marionette into Firefox OS from source, so you can actually build your own version of Firefox OS, push it to like an Android-supported phone, and it'll work. And mobile Firefox support will be coming. So I think we're ready to do this last demo, which would be awesome. All right.
So fun little story. I found out I've evaluated all the webcams in the market, and they all suck for giving web demos. So I found the best device is an iPad. Go figure.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hope it has a good enough frame rate. All right.
Full screen.
So you clicked it, and text appeared. Yes. All right. Thanks. That was conclusion. So if you have any questions, now's a good time.
Can you tell me more about where in South America? Where is this coming? Do I have to fly to get one of these?
Yes, you do. No, actually, what you can just do is build it from source and push it. Like we have support for Samsung Galaxy S2 phones, so you can just run them right now on a Samsung Galaxy S2 phone.
On which one?
Galaxy S2 or a Nexus S, and I think, actually, I'm not sure about Galaxy Nexus, but those two phones, like we have built-in support for you to just like pull down the B2G code. Sorry, it's called Buttigeke. That's the original project name. It's all written on the website that I pointed to.
Which country is it going to be released in?
For now, I don't know exactly the right one, but we're working with
The
companies.
Galaxy.
Yeah, we're working with companies around the world right now.
But I can run it on a Galaxy Nexus.
No, Galaxy S2
A Galaxy S2. Got it.
and Nexus S.
Got it.
They all have
I
similar
hope
names,
someone else
so yeah.
Thanks.
I actually have a question. Could you do a little bit of maybe platform advocacy and sort of fill us in a little bit on sort of like the goals of Firefox OS?
Oh yes, so the goal is you want to have one application and it works everywhere. And really, that's one of the goals, right? Because if you write, Angry Birds, you write it for iOS, you have to use the iOS stack. Then you have to port it to work in Android, and then you have to port it to work on your browser. But really, the browser can be so much more than what it is right now. And this is just proving to the world what an open web can really look like and the power of the open web. Like you can now, just with JavaScript, make a phone call from one device to another. And that's something that I'm sure most people wouldn't have considered it when it just came out in Netscape. So it's a way to unify all these different environments with one set of code.
Any other questions?
Is it easier to do JavaScript debug in Firefox when it's running a mobile phone?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? What about
JavaScript debug. If something doesn't work, maybe the JavaScript code not working well in the mobile phone. How to debug and see the details.
There is a remote debugger, and I'm not sure if it works in the mobile environment. But what you can do with Marionette, once it works, is that we have loggers, so you can pretty much log everything that's going on the phone. And when it crashes, you can observe those logs. But yeah, you can look into the remote debugger project for Firefox, and you can check out how that works. Awesome. Thanks, Will. So, any other questions? All right. Well, if you need any more information, you can go to this website. This is how to use Marionette and how to install it in different environments. Thank you.